This kind of thing happens a lot in Roman history. And yet, it never seems to matter. The Roman economy, economic historians and archaeologists tell us the social and political economy of Rome is embedded in these friendships between patrons. And everything turns on that. Yet, several episodes in Roman history, and we're nuking these people. There are purges and prescriptions and happening with some regularity. So this is what I was wondering, what is it about the structure of society in the Roman world that allows it to weather the loss of these major figures? If Roman society is a bit like the Antonine itineraries network, and you can poke holes in it and it falls apart, well, that's got to mean something, or at least that's what I was trying to find out. So why doesn't it all collapse? And to be flip, why is it that Franz Ferdinand snuffs it and World War I follows hard on its heels and JFK is assassinated and nothing really seems to happen? And I appreciate that that's a much more complicated, complex question than I'm making it sound, but really it's all about what theory of history you believe in. Is it longue durée, like the analysts tell you, and individuals don't matter? And is that why you can punch holes in Roman society and Roman society keeps on trucking? Or is it about great men and they just kept missing the ones that kept it all together? As an archaeologist, I've never found evidence of la grande durée. I have never found evidence of the great men who keep everything together. It's always some bloody pot that you find broken in the earth that somebody dropped. It's always an individual. And coming at that from a complexity point of view, my feeling is that yes, the individuals do matter, and their interactions create society, which constrains society, which means that it's a question of the right action at the right time changing things. It's like a phase transition in physics, or what Stephen Gould used to call punctuated equilibrium in evolution. Everything ticks along, but when things are just right, the standard behaviors can result in transformative change. So it becomes a question of identifying those conditions. Am I making sense? Okay. It's all right to tell me if I'm not making sense, or if you'd like me to try and go over something again once more. I used to be able to talk to my grandmother and try and explain things to her, and if I could get Grandma to understand what I was talking about, I figured, okay, I probably understand what I'm talking about now. Everybody should have somebody like that when you're trying to communicate your research. So, why doesn't society collapse? Well, again, begin with something fundamental. And I think for Roman society, that fundamental thing that maybe we should begin with is the salutatio, the morning greeting of a patron by his clients. And this is it Richard Harris, who wrote the novel Imperium about Cicero? Fantastic novel, one of the best descriptions in fiction of this process, the clients coming to the patron, and the gifts and influence that flow back and forth. Clients give patrons their political support. Patrons provide financial support or opportunities. I mean, it's a very complex ball of wax, and there's an awful lot of literature on it, but for our purposes this evening, that's pretty much the gist of it. And the morning salutatio is a game. It's a game of seeing and being seen. And it reinforces social structure, because you have this group processing, displaying, especially in early Rome, but showing their connections to others. It all comes down to high school again. You remember the cliques that would wander around through the hallways, and you really wanted to be part of that gang, and they wouldn't let you in, and you get really upset by that. Or they would let you in and you feel like you're on top of the world, and then you too could be crappy to the other kid who couldn't get in. Patronage in Roman society works a bit like high school. So, the other important thing about patronage is that Rome also frames its relationships with conquered peoples in the same language of patron-clientship. So, anything I model based on Salutatio is in a sense not just about individuals, but it's also, maybe, if I push it, if I go out on the limb, a model of the Roman world more generally. So that was the basic concept in this model. In the model itself, the agents work out, they have a prestige value initially. And they work out, well, who's higher than me, who's lower than me. These ones are higher than me, I will pay my respects to them. That turns them into a patron, and the other ones into clients. An agent can be both a patron and a client in turn. I can come and pay my respects to you in the morning, but then I can wait for you to come and pay your respects to me in turn. So chains can develop. And patrons cement the relationships with the clients through donations of gifts. Now, what was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh yes, a patron's status depends on the status of his clients. It's no good being the leader of all the nerds in high school because you're still at the bottom of the pecking order. Far better to be the leader of the jocks. And you never let the nerds come and be part of your circle. The model works like that in a sense. A patron's prestige is diminished if the clients they accept in are too low. So you can see this is a feedback loop. There's a tension inherent in the model. And when I run the model, I run it on in two ways. First, a baseline where it's just a random generated social network. This lets me see how the model actually works. What happens, what emerges out of it. I run it a second time on a network derived from my old favorite, the Roman brick stamps. Because the stamp brick contains information about landholding patterns around the city of Rome, and holding land, being a landowner, is the basis for political legitimacy, ultimately in Rome. So I end up with a network of 234 named individuals from Roman history whose social connections I know. I'm reanimating them, bringing the dead back to life, in a sense, dimly, with sunglasses on. You can't really see, but that's what I'm doing. And then you compare the two runs, the model run where everything is random against the model run where the only difference is the patterning of connections. And in this way, I can start to ask, so what are the sources of robustness in Roman society? And just for fun, these are what Roman brick stamps look like. Interestingly enough, the Vatican Museum once had an entire gallery devoted to stamped bricks. But strangely enough, it just doesn't attract visitors very much these days. And then if you know some geographic information, you can start pulling that into the network as well. Now, it takes a lot more for this model to run than the other model does. So I'm not going to start it up for you, but you can see it if you go to the website and start playing with it. The only variables of interest for the user to play with are these ones here where the economic environment is modeled. Is it a harsh environment? Is it North America 2009 harsh? Or is it .com late 1990s irrational exuberance happy? Okay, so that is to say, is it hard to make it to get ahead economically, or is it easy? How much are agents going to risk in any economic exchanges? After a patron and clients do the ritual of exchanging the greetings, in the model they come together and conduct economic life. And it's not, there's nothing traded per se, it's simply, given the relative status of these two individuals who have now come together in my digital forum, what are the chances of a good economic outcome? In Roman society, if you are a high-class patron, you're going to get the better of most economic deals, simply by virtue of the fact that the economy is socially good. So that's what that is about.